Hello, and welcome to this week's Movie Math, where the cloud over the MCU continues to darken ominously. Remember when it was nothing but sunny skies? You couldn't see a single cloud in the sky. It was unbelievable. But now there's not only a cloud, but it's darkening. I almost got rained on this weekend. So the metaphor is fresh in my mind. How much longer can Kevin Feige and Bob Chapek scoop up money before the rain? Of consequences! I feel like Bane from Harley Quinn. But I did not get rained on. I just made it. But I feel that impending sense of doom on the MCU. But I also feel that the powers that be feel we can make a little bit more money. Let's just stay out here. We have a little bit more time. How much time do they have? Nobody knows, as Marvel is ridiculously lucky. We'll see what kind of time Kevin Feige can buy them at Comic-Con on Saturday. All right, so anyway, yes, while Thor Love and Thunder might have opened big, it dropped big in its second weekend, falling 68% according to estimates. The drop could be even bigger, or to be fair, even smaller, when we get the final numbers tomorrow. Box office is historically presented on Sundays, and it's almost always, right on the money. But, here, a difference of 1 or 2 points would be a very big deal. I mean, like if it dropped 70% when the final numbers come in, that would be even bleaker. But this is pretty damn bleak as it is. That's one of the worst drops ever for the MCU, right up there with Doctor Strange 2 and Black Widow. Phase 4 movies. What do you know? Sure, Eternals held up better in its second weekend, yet it opened with half of Thor and Love and Thunder's debut. And spoiler alert for later this very episode, in its second week, Ms. Marvel did not even make the top 10 on Nielsen. I know. Shocking. Shocking! That's like the first raindrop. I don't know. We have a spattering of raindrops, but that's shocking. The other Marvel Disney Plus shows have done very well, though, and Shang-Chi continues to be the shining star of Phase 4. Very good film, top-tier Marvel, as I said. And Thor Ragnarok might not have opened as big as Thor Love and Thunder, but here it comes. It held up much better in its own second weekend. So that film, I think, ultimately is going to end up being a better performer. Now, some of you might be like, well, wait a minute, Grace. Spider-Man No Way Home suffered the same drop in its second weekend, and I didn't see any purveyors of doom. Well, that was during the holiday movie season. It was weird. Its second weekend was Christmas Eve. The movie-going patterns are different smack in the middle of the holidays. And also, Spider-Man No Way Home was making mad money every single day, even during the week, because, again, it was the holiday season. Domestic, at the end of its second weekend, the movie had banked $470. Domestic. Now, there will always also be the Marvel fan who tells you that these are great numbers. Hey, Grace, that turned a profit. I'd be happy with those numbers. You're not the studio. Hollywood does not think that way. Hollywood isn't like, good for me. I made a profit. Woo. That's not the way business works. Also, they have shareholders who also will say, you didn't make what you should have. You left money on the table. That's what they're going to think about. That's why the movie was greenlit in the first place, because of the money they should make. That's what they were counting on. It's why they signed off on a huge production and advertising budget. I mean, look at BVS. Batman v Superman. Man, made a heck of a lot of money. So did Suicide Squad. But Warner Brothers was like, they looked over at what Marvel was doing and were like, we could be making more money. We should be making more money. Also, the reviews were simply awful. Although on that note, Marvel's RT scores are starting to slip, which is pretty fascinating because we've just seen Pixar start to fall apart as well. Entities that at one point seemed untouchable. And yet they're starting to crack. Now, some of you are quick to blame Bob Chapek. You're like, it's Chapek. There was a headline recently that he is Bob Iger's biggest regret. That's funny. It's like, you did this to us. You can't cry about it too. Anyway, did the mandate that Thor Love and Thunder be under 2 hours come down from corporate? Is Kevin Feige as big a victim as the rest of us? But let's remember that Star Wars fell apart under Bob Iger, and it was also Iger's idea to launch Disney Plus and supercharge that streaming service with their big IPs. Not a bad idea. It's making a ton of money, not just for Disney, but also the executives who get bonuses for its performances. And it's not making money for any talent or, but I mean, I don't know. I like Disney Plus. I think it's a great service. Anyway, things started out great over there. We were like, wow, where's this been all our life? Disney Vault, Disney Schmolt. I can watch this stuff anytime I want. But it's starting to look like with the new stuff, a quantity over quality strategy. They might want to dial it back a little bit. Although they're so worried about churn, I don't know if they can. And Feige was 1,000% behind Eternals. He was going around telling people it was the best thing he ever saw. And his hate for the Inhumans and Jeff Loeb has created a lot of unnecessary tension suddenly with X-Men fans. I'm a little bit upset. And thrust poor Kamala Khan into the middle of that. She doesn't need that. She doesn't need that at all. She doesn't need to be mixed in with that. I worry that her character could never recover from that. I hope that some of you are like, you can be a mutant and not be in the X-Men, Grace. But you always could potentially be in the X-Men. And you really don't think they're going to put her, and some people are like, she was supposed to be a mutant originally, Grace. Who cares? Her character has been established. She's in the Avengers tent over in storytelling. She does not belong in the X-Men tent. It does not work. She's a great Avengers character. I would rather she not be, and apparently this was all just so they had to come up with the reason for if her brother or her mother put on the bracelet, they wouldn't get powers. And I'm like, why couldn't they? Cameron has powers? I love her mother and her brother. I have no problem with powering them up. Now, we went over the MCU's percolating problems last week, but I'll give you a quick rehash. Shut out of China, artistic directors crammed into formula filmmaking, the loss of the Russo brothers, who excelled at formula filmmaking. Although they're talking a lot of smack right now about movie theaters and big IPs. It's like, why make enemies, Russo brothers? Just share the love. I mean, we'll see how the Gray Man does. It's not so great. We'll talk about it a little later in this episode so far. But then also using the unsuccessful, all new, all different Marvel blueprint. Who would follow that blueprint? Rewatchability eaten into by the 45-day window to Disney+. We'll be talking about Universal's surprise theatrical windows later in this episode as well. And then also dilution by Disney+ with way too much MCU content. I'd also like to add that there are non-Marvel superhero stories out there right now that are blowing our socks off. We got The Boys, The Batman, which are more serious and adult as Marvel gets more silly and family focused. I just heard something about The Marvels, which was so silly that I was shocked that it wasn't in a Guardians of the Galaxy movie. I was like, what's that doing in The Marvels? I mean, I think that some movies should be silly and they are very successfully silly, but I don't think they should all be silly. You know, some people felt Thor Love and Thunder was too silly. So, I don't know, man. I mean, it's hard to eat vanilla all the time, no matter how good it is, no matter how many great specks of vanilla bean are in it. You don't want to eat vanilla every week. And that's how much they're serving it these days. And, you know, still, vanilla is vanilla. I think Marvel's getting like, I don't know, I like Thor Love and Thunder, but like from a fan perspective, business-wise and from a filmmaking perspective, oh yeah, it's got major problems. I want the 4-hour cut, although Taika Waititi says he shall never deliver it. But then why did he film it? Is he like, yeah, I just wasted a lot of money filming additional 2 hours of content and hiring talent that I didn't use? I mean, I don't think that's the support of Disney that he thinks it is. All right. So Marvel returns to Comic-Con this week. Oh, yeah. And Feige's going to have to pitch like never before. But if anyone can do it, it's Feige. Although it's interesting. Remember how I was always like, Pixar wants to make you cry. And people were like, I love to cry. And then eventually everyone was like, yeah, I'm starting to see the problem in the strings. Well, we at first we were all like, we love seeing what's coming next. But I feel like we're starting to get wise to some of the tricks. And so I think that that's a problem. Now, another trick they have, which I still love, is the shock and awe announcements to distract us. And I bet there will be plenty of those on Saturday. But it would be really great if Feige could also assure fans that the MCU does have some sort of roadmap and everything is going to come into focus. Because right now, not only is there too much Marvel content, but it's kind of all over the place. It's weird. It's again, but they're making so much money. All right. Now, before we get to the rest of the top 10, as you know, the big studios do a lot of audience research. And independent movie research company Popcorn is on the cutting edge of gathering that information, but at the same time, making it fun for you. So, how'd you like to play a game? All you have to do is click the link below. Last time, Popcorn wanted to pick your brain about Puss in Boots 2, The Last Wish. And I love that so many of you had such a good time participating in that event. But now, it's Ticket to Paradise, right? The brand new romantic comedy starring George Clooney and Julia Roberts. Who doesn't love George Clooney and Julia Roberts? No, seriously, Popcorn needs to know. In a 10 to 12 minute interactive online experience hosted by me, you'll answer questions about movies, see never before seen footage for Ticket to Paradise, including behind the scenes and a joke reel that you get to judge. trivia challenges, and enter for the chance to win Amazon gift cards. Anyone around the globe can participate. If you're watching this, you can click down below right now. And on that note, space is limited because the studio doesn't want too many people seeing this footage. So click that link below right now to make sure you can participate before they close the doors. All right, see you over there. As for the rest of the top 10, I think the Top Gun Maverick effect can also not be underestimated. It soaked up so much business. Surely it's responsible for movies like Doctor Strange 2, Jurassic World Dominion, and Thor Love and Thunder underperforming. Doctor Strange 2 and Jurassic World Dominion both are in the 900 million range, so they still did very, very well. But could they have been in the billion-dollar club if not for Maverick? I think that's very possible. And while it won't make the worldwide all-time top 10, I can't believe it. It will now almost certainly, this coming week, kick The Last Jedi out of the all-time domestic top 10, which I know will make that victory even sweeter for some of you. It's going to do it. That's incredible. Even Minions 2 might not get to $1 billion as it slows down worldwide, as the last two Despicable movies have. But that's not the same audience as Top Gun Maverick. That could be speaking to streaming. But that's interesting that Minions 2 is also underperforming. But still doing, fine. Better than fine. But not what it should do. As for this weekend's newcomers, Reese Witherspoon can hold her head high, or at least just show her face in Tinseltown, as Where the Crawdads Sing was actually able to find an audience. Who'd have guessed it? Who'd have guessed it? Which one of you went to see that movie? I hope you had a good time. Paws of Fury and Mrs. Harris Goes to Paris, though, were not as lucky. Further proof that they were indeed the streaming movies that they looked like. I could see people watching Mrs. Harris Goes to Paris on streaming. I can't believe they thought anybody would pay to see that in a theater. And they did not. As for The Gray Man, which is a streaming movie, masquerading as a theatrical release for 1 week and 1 week only, Netflix floated it out to a handful of theaters, 400, and they didn't even bother to report the figures. They're like, they would have if they were good. The industry guesses it's about 200K, which would have put it at number 11, just outside the top 10. Red Notice did like between 1 and 2 with 750 theaters. So if they put The Gray Man in a few more theaters, maybe it could have been in the top 10, even with very small release. But maybe they didn't want too many people to see it because the reviews so far have not been kind. They would not give out screeners. iPic has even stopped playing their movies, interestingly enough. That was one of the few theater chains that would play them. But I will review it this coming week. And we'll see what kind of numbers it posts on Netflix. Are you going to click play for no extra cost? I bet you are. The Russo brothers' last film for the streamer, Extinction, is currently the 5th most watched movie ever on the service. So I think they're going to have a repeat. But again, how many times? I don't know. I'm looking forward to it. Let's see. I hope it's not bad. I love the cast. And I like the Russo brothers. Extraction was really good. All right, as for streaming, let's start with Nielsen for mid-June, where shockingly, yes, Ms. Marvel is nowhere to be seen in its second week. Oh my God, that has never happened to a Marvel or Star Wars Disney Plus show before that couldn't make it anywhere on the top 10. And look at some of the shows that beat it out. Many of them out for weeks already. So bad. What a shocking blow. As for the rest of the top 10, Stranger Things 4 Part 1, Part 2 hasn't come out yet according to Nielsen charts. It continues to dominate here with the final season of Peaky Blinders hitting Netflix that week and actually sent The Boys back to 3rd place. I think it was 4th maybe the week before. But, it's a bit of a bummer. We hoped The Boys would only go up. But I bet it will go up in the coming weeks. This is only its 3rd week of release. So I'm excited. This is an amazing run for The Boys Season 3. Careers will be made off of this run. Anthony Starr even announced on Twitter today he's starting to get very busy and can't spend as much time on social media. Hooray! Disney Plus at least has Obi-Wan still in the middle of the pack with its second to last episode, while Ben Falcone must be God's favorite idiot, as for some reason people keep watching the horrible content his wife makes to keep his career alive. She even managed to get him Thor Love and Thunder. I couldn't believe it! I'd be like, no, Melissa, we have to have an intervention. And while HBO Max still can't get a single show in the top 10 originals, at least in movies they have 2 entries. Fantastic Beasts 3 had 1 last week in the top 10, still holding on just with little fingernails. While the Latino remake of Father of the Bride was a strong performer for HBO Max. I watched that. It was a lot of fun. I thought it was an excellent remake. Yet still, that movie's viewership, a huge hit for HBO Max. I remember the headlines when they came out. They were like, HBO Max has never seen numbers like this. But look at that. less than half of Hustle over on Netflix, which is in its third week already. So I think that is interesting. I'm very curious when HBO Max starts releasing some bigger shows and they can potentially show up on Nielsen. I'll be interested to see if they do. Like, what's Westworld going to do? That's a bad first test. I mean, I'm enjoying it. I'm actually really enjoying it. You guys were right. See, episode 2, season 4, it's starting to get real good. All right, well, actually, episode 4 is tonight, although I have to watch Prey, the new Predator movie tonight. So I'm a little bit behind on that, but I'm having a good time with Westworld. As for Netflix's top 10 for just last week, remember they're just last week, it's frustrating that Nielsen continues to be so far behind. But anyway, new movies The Sea Beast and Girl in the Picture are both very strong debuts here. The Sea Beast actually looks pretty darn good. I didn't watch it yet, but I was like, number 1 again? And I looked at the trailer, and Carl Urban from The Boys, by the way, doing a voice, and I was like, maybe I will watch that in the next couple of weeks. Well, Kevin Hart's The Man from Toronto continues to perform. That was very solid. I watched that. And Hustle, which I also enjoyed, is still in the top 10 here in its 5th week for this chart because, again, Netflix is just a week behind. Although, so far, as I said before, Man from Toronto and Hustle couldn't play in theaters, but they're excellent streaming movies. As for shows on Netflix, it's still the world of Stranger Things and Umbrella Academy, as all their seasons are in the top 10. That's incredible. Wow. The house that Stranger Things and Umbrella Academy built. It's definitely getting a season 4, Umbrella Academy, for sure. They haven't announced it yet, but I'd be really surprised if they didn't with this strong performance. Maybe they're hashing out the budget because they don't have as much money to spend over there anymore these days. The other 3 spots in the top 10 went to Manifest Season 1, with rumors swirling that the new Season 4, this time a Netflix original, will be debuting soon. Some people thought it would be debuting in July. In July. This is June still. No, this is the beginning of July. But still, it's not going to debut in July, but it should be sometime this year. Peaky Blinders' final season is still in the top 10 over here, and Nielsen, it had just debuted here. It's a couple of weeks in. And Alone Season 8. This is interesting. This is a reality show from the History Channel that just debuted its last season only, its latest season only, on Netflix. And as you can see, it's doing pretty darn good on the service. So that's interesting. That'll be interesting to see if Netflix makes Alone happen, because that's incredible for a show that's been around for so long on a different channel that you can watch for free on that channel if you have cable, is really kind of getting a huge audience all of a sudden on Netflix 8 seasons in. That's Netflix effect, which they still got, baby, even if they're having other problems. As for iTunes, look at this. This is fantastic. Universal put both Jurassic World Dominion and the Black Phone on digital at the same time in a surprise release. Talk about a 1-2 punch. Bada bing, bada boom. I love it. At $20 to $30 a pop. $20 to $30 a pop. Oh my goodness. That was just a 30-day window approximately for Jurassic World Dominion and about 20 days for Black Phone. Both of which, by the way, are languishing at the bottom of the top 10 at the box office at this point, so it's not like Uni left any money on the table. I love a surprise theatrical window. You're like, what should I watch? And you go over to iTunes and you sit up straight and you're like, oh my God, look what's on here. Oh my gosh, let's watch it right now. I think that's totally the way to go instead of a guaranteed window. I'm looking at you, Disney Plus Marvel, right? I think that's not a good idea. Look how Spider-Man No Way Home benefited from nobody knowing when it would go to digital, and it still hasn't gone to streaming. So that's really, really amazing. So I think that play from Uni is fantastic. Although, it's going to come back to bite them in the butt in just a moment. Because let's talk about this coming week. Because, now you know what's on the table at Uni, right? So it's Comic-Con. Comic-Con's back again, baby. So Jordan Peele's Nope for Universal will have to compete with that hype machine. And now, the idea that Universal has put out there, that it could be on streaming in 20 to 30 days. And, coronavirus is pretty bad right now, actually. It's rallying again, stupid coronavirus. Anyway, The Gray Man, if you'd like to stay home, The Gray Man hits Netflix on Friday. As for other streaming debuts this week, Blood and Treasure Season 2, some of this stuff you're like, what is this even? Blood and Treasure Season 2 debuts on Paramount Plus today. Actually, I think it actually dropped yesterday. While on Tuesday, reality show Love Island moves exclusively to Peacock with Season 4. Who's disappointed that you have to now go to Peacock to watch it? Who is watching that? Wednesday, this was good though, Virgin River returns to Netflix with its own Season 4. Remember how for weeks we'd be like, what is this show? It's dominating the top 10 on Nielsen. I've never even heard of it. It's doing so well. Let's see if Virgin River can rule again, right? In just a few weeks when it shows up on Nielsen. And Grownish starts its season 5 on Freeform, which is apparently still a thing. Thursday, season 2 of American Horror Stories starts on Hulu. It's star-studded with some genuine celebrities, but a couple of C and D listers on there. But who cares, man? It's still got the sparkle. And Issa Rae is producing a new show this time for HBO Max, which will debut with 2 episodes also on Thursday. And a name that I cannot say. I could censor it. Rap, right? And I think the spelling is very clever. And on Friday, season 3 of Trying, who watched seasons 1 and 2? I'm sure some people did. This is an import. Apple TV, by the way, worth the money. Their stuff is so good on there. I'm watching both Blackbird and Loot on there right now, and plenty of other great shows. But season 3 of Trying, which I don't think I'll watch, but that debuts on Friday. So that's this week's Movie Math. What have you been watching? What do you plan to watch? Which services do you feel is worth every penny with streaming services? And what do you think of Thor Love and Thunder's second weekend drop? How long till the rain of consequences comes down? I don't know. Some of you have been waiting for it to rain on Marvel for a real long time. Your arm's probably tired holding up that umbrella. All right. So anyway, but we'll see. I think I see maybe a little bit of activity. We'll see. All right. Share those thoughts down below. Subscribe today, and of course, as always, you can check out some more videos right now.